We'd like to welcome you to the Healthcare Revolution podcast, where we empower you to take control of your health, restore your trust in the medical system, and achieve lasting wellness. I am your host, Brad Powell, Doctor of Physical Therapy and owner of an award-winning foundation physical therapy here in the Salt Lake Valley. Each episode, we dive into all things rehab prevention, overall health, bringing you expert insights from leaders across the healthcare fields. Please note, while we aim to provide with the best knowledge and advice, the opinions shared represent those of experts in the field and are not to be replaced with professional medical advice. So let's revolutionize healthcare and wellness together. Welcome to the Healthcare Revolution podcast. I'm so excited to talk about secrets of ultramarathoners today and why and what specifically they do not tell you. The things, the secrets, the things that they don't really share with you. A lot of us think of ultramarathoners as kind of these untouched superhumans. And this specific guest is truly that. He is an untouched superhuman. But I do want to explain also that they are normal people. And I just want to give a little background before I introduce him, that less than 0.01% of the global population compete an ultramarathon. Less than 1% even complete a marathon. So this is a very unique circumstance where we get someone on the podcast that ran a last man standing race, 102 miles consecutively, and there are breaks that we'll talk about. But ultimately, this is a very, very long race. Only about 30 to 40,000 of people worldwide compete in a race like this, and it's very unique to find someone that does it. And just for perspective, about 1.1 million people run marathons annually, but ultramarathon participation is nearly 10 times smaller. So very, very small population of people. Yet most people think that ultramarathoners, again, are superhuman, mentally tougher, physically different, like they're just built different. A lot of us think that they have some special powers. But ultimately, like I said earlier, they are normal. They're normal humans. They are with us, out on the streets, and we want to really uncover the curtains here and talk about Tim's experience. So introducing Tim, Dr. Tim Hughes. He's a doctor of physical therapy, one of the best in the business. There's not a better PT that I know than this man right here. Just in human too. He just has so much value he adds to the world. He did a last man standing event, running 102 miles. And again, a feat that most ultra runners just never get to. And we're going to talk about what makes them different. What are the things that you need to consistently do? If you are thinking about running an ultramarathon or even a marathon, this podcast, what we're going to talk about is for you. Someone that's done it, someone that's done the grit, someone that's gone through the experiences of it, and going to give some unique perspectives on really what to expect and how you have to train differently for different types of races. So excited to have him on the podcast. He is the CEO of Elevate Physical Therapy, owns 3 clinics in the southern regions of Utah, and some of the best clinics that I've ever seen. And just so grateful to have him on and have this unique topic. So welcome, Tim, to the podcast.
Thanks, Brad. I am uncomfortable with the superhuman description, but I sure appreciate being here with you and your team. You guys have a really cool thing going on here. But yeah, superhuman is not how anybody would describe me. I mean, the normal, that's more where I'm comfortable.
When you look at Tim, you're like, yeah, he's pretty normal.
Very normal.
But anyone that can, I rode a bike 100, I want to say it was 100 miles exactly around Utah Lake. And I thought I was a high-level athlete.
You are a high-level athlete, Brad.
I just thought I was like on top of the world. I'm like, I just did something not too many people do, right?
Sure.
And the statistics are not in my favor in that realm. But like just fathoming running around Utah Lake like that blows my mind.
It's
the fact
on your
that
bucket
you're able to
list
do
now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Maybe after this podcast. We'll
there you
see.
go. All right, that's my job for today then.
But yes, that is the goal. I want to get there. But you're right. A lot of people, when they look at ultramarathoners, they think that you're built different, or you have special genes, you have special human powers. Tell us, is that true? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I've done one marathon done multiple half marathons, and didn't really transition to the ultras until 3 or 4 years ago. And it was a challenge, at the time. My brother-in-law was like, hey, I'm going to do this ultra. We're going to do High Mountain or Red Mountain 55K in St. George. He's like, why don't you come do it with me? Do it with me. And I was like, hard pass, man. Like, no, I did a marathon, didn't enjoy it. Too much running for me. But
that is so interesting to hear now that we all know that you ran the ultra.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that was my attitude towards running. It's like, if I'm not carrying a ball or chasing a ball, I don't really want to be running.
And if you've ever played any sports that have anything to do with the ball with Tim, he just dominates in everything. And I played pickleball with him, ping pong. Like, literally, there's not a ball sport I can beat him in. So pure domination there.
I don't know about the domination, but I do enjoy playing. I enjoy being active. But at the time, I was listening to one of Huberman Lab's podcasts, and he was talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, and how can you combat some of these cognitive conditions that we get when we're older. And one of the main points that he brought up was doing something impossible every year. It's like finding something. It doesn't always have to be physical, but trying to find something every year that in your mind currently feels impossible. And that's the point, is you stretch yourself. So at the time, my brother-in-law is like, hey, come do this ultra with me. I was like, I think it was 32 miles. In my mind was like, that's impossible for me. Like, no way. Like, okay, this will be my thing for this year. I'll train for it and I'll do it. And man, I don't know how and I don't know why, but kind of fell in love with running. Just the rhythmic, almost hypnotic motion of going on these long runs. And
what was the, we talk about this journey. I think a lot of runners have this. And most runners that are runners now, consider themselves runners, have been through the same phase. What was like that turning point where you're like, I don't like running, to now I love it?
Yeah. And it took a while to get to this point, but the turning point was, I still remember, it was January in Cedar City, so it's cold, and I'm not running outside because I'm a little princess. I don't like to run if it's cold outside, so it's got to be comfortable. So I was running on a treadmill, and I needed 10 miles for the day, and I still had my full caseload. It was in the morning. And I remember kind of experiencing for the first time what they call that runner's high. And just that moment when you're running and you're just like, wow, everything is just clicking. Like, my lungs are doing great. I feel amazing. And I remember thinking, okay, I like running. This is pretty cool. Finished my run, went to work, energized, feeling really good, and was talking to my patient. Was like, man, yeah, I finished my run today. And I was like, oh, how far did you guys? Like, I ran 10 miles this morning. It's like, it's 7 o'clock. You've already run 10
7
miles.
a.m. and you're here and you're not sweating.
Yeah.
What time do you wake up?
And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. Like, okay. And I think that was part of the identity creation, right? We create these identities throughout our lives, and those moments where you can connect to that. It's like, oh yeah, I am a runner. I enjoyed that. I want to do it again tomorrow. And it sounds crazy to other people, but when it's part of your identity, it doesn't really matter anymore. What anybody else thinks or what they say, it's just like, that's just how I am.
Yeah, I love that you bring up identity. I think ultimately we, as we age, we have different identities, and it's super important that we embrace new ones. And I love, you're in your mid-30s now, mid-30s, right? Yeah. You're getting new identities. What other identities do you have right now besides a runner? What other things are you into? I know your dad. You got 5 kids, 5 gals.
5. That was the first one that came to my mind. As I try my best to be a loving father, devoted husband. One of my main identities that I try to think of every day is a gardener for my children, providing an environment where they can thrive and grow and become who they are meant to be. Father, husband, like you mentioned, I'm a CEO of Elevate Physical Therapy and do all that I can for my employees, for my patients.
And I know a handful of CEOs. I'd say a couple handfuls, and there's no one that cares more about their people than this Tim right here.
Yeah, I appreciate that,
like,
Brad.
He really goes above and beyond for his people, and will go to bat for them, and just such a cool identity to be in a chief executive role where you get to truly care for people. Because a lot of people, when they hear CEO, it's like, well, you've done something to, negatively impact other people. Like, no, this is a CEO that really deeply cares about his people and wants them to succeed.
I appreciate that. Right back at you. We've had a lot of cool discussions about how we can help our employees thrive and grow and become who they, achieve their greatest potential. I love that.
What other identities? And the reason I'm asking about these identities, there's really twofold. Number one, I think it's really important that we all have multiple identities. I have an Olympic skier as a patient right now, and she has no identity other than skiing. That is just all she knows, and without that, she doesn't know who she is, right? Yeah. And you know this in youth sports, the importance of having multiple identities, because if you just have one and then you can't do that sport anymore, what happens to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I love that. And like you said, multiple identities so that you can fall back, and success leads to more success. You have success in one realm with one of your identities, and it leads to success in others. And with running, it gives me a lot of enjoyment, but not near the enjoyment or the quality of enjoyment that I get from my kids or from my wife, or from working with amazing people, or some of my other identities. I'm a Christian. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, and I am an athlete. I try to do new things. I want to be growing constantly. Like my wife will tease me sometimes saying, like, you have too many hobbies. There's too many things you enjoy doing. I was like, absolutely, I do.
I'd always err on that versus not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Yeah. I want to have more and more things that I get better at, or that I really suck at first, and then try a little harder and maybe do a little better.
And the thing is like the second portion of why I wanted to talk about identities is to really unload the thought of, this is a busy man we're talking about, right? We got 5 girls. I got a bunch of boys. Right? They're not as time consuming as my girls.
I don't know. The girls are actually pretty easy. That's all I know. But
your girls are
they're amazing.
Yeah, that's all you know. So, anyways, but yeah, you got someone that's busy, right? You're a CEO. You're a clinician. You have a lot of patients you're serving. You volunteer. You do multiple volunteer things out in the community that takes a lot of your time. You're taking care of your family, right? Your business, your employees. There's a lot. How do you have the time to devote to this?
Yeah.
Because how much time does a marathon take to run, right?
Right.
So I really want to paint that picture as we get started here, as we dive into a lot of these techniques, because this is a busy person that we're talking about. Everyone's busy. So how do you shape this training around that? Because a lot of people are like, oh, ultramarathon, you must not be doing much with your time.
Right.
You got a lot of time on your hands, right? But that's
bored.
not true with Tim here.
Yeah.
So let's talk into the real physiology and endurance of what happens to your body after the marathon distance to 50 miles. What's what's happening there?
Yeah, and diving into that, most people know, there's several different systems that we get energy from. We have the system that gives you that fast energy, 10-15 seconds. 10-15 seconds you use up the energy in a couple of these systems, and then you transition to every piece of glucose that's in your bloodstream. You use all of that up. And then you go to what's stored.
And what's kind of the layman term for glucose? Kind of the public understands.
Sugars. Sugars that are in your body.
You burn up through that sugar.
Burn up the sugar
pretty quick.
A lot of what we eat, we transition to glucose, sugars in our bodies. And that's kind of the energy that we get. So even when you're eating, a granola bar, it's all going to get transitioned to the same glucose. And most of it, not all of it, right? But most of it gets transitioned to this glucose, and that's what you're using to move, to think. Your brain uses an enormous amount of the glucose or the sugars that are in your bloodstream. Most of it gets sent there. And so at marathon distance, most of us can use what we already have in our bodies. Whether it's in our bloodstream, stored in our liver, or in our muscles, our bodies can take what we have and convert it to energy so that we can move. So there are aid stations on marathons, and oftentimes people will stop, but your high-level marathon runners don't need it. They will just keep going. You know, they might get a quick drink, but they're going to burn through.
Because they've already
they're
stored
not
it.
eating. They've already stored it. It's already inside. Yeah, they've got it in their bloodstream. They've got it in their muscles and their liver. You break past that 26, moving towards like an ultra, you have to eat. If you don't, your body will.
It depletes everything.
Yeah, you'll just completely shut down. You know, and they talk about in some of these really long races, like 100 miles, people will start to hallucinate because now the brain's not even getting the energy that it needs to function appropriately. So that's the balance.
And the goal is not to get there,
The
right?
goal is to not do that.
Okay.
Yeah, not do that. And
No hallucinations. Right.
No hallucinations. But then also think like if your body's not getting the energy that it needs, your muscles aren't getting the energy, then you're going to start running and doing things differently, which wears differently for your joints and muscles. You know, and from a PT perspective, anytime you change any sort of the way the force goes through your foot, you know, then you're more likely to have injuries. And with ultras, you're doing hundreds of thousands of steps. Like you are doing a lot of steps. Every single time you put your foot down, the force needs to go in a certain way, whichever way you've trained it to. But if you start to modify that or alter it, you're more likely to have stress injuries.
So getting a new pair of shoes right before Ultramarathon, not a good idea.
Not ideal. And there's different.
And a lot of people do that. They'll go get a new pair of shoes right before a race. Like that is not the time to be changing any of your mechanics or any, you know, another thing that people like to do. I'm sure you see, maybe not as much in ultra, but they change what they eat. It's like they're using the you know, glucose gel
stuff,
and they've never done that before, right?
Yeah.
Your body needs consistency, so don't change anything before your race or during the race,
or just to, you know, get ready for a unique experience. You don't know how you're going to respond. I've made that mistake for sure. You know, you go into a race.
I love how you said a unique experience.
Unique experience. It's going to be a surprise. You might be
You're
fine.
You're going to get to the bathroom. There's not
Real
going to be
quick.
any toilet paper.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I did a race with some friends, and there was 10 porta potties, and this was right before the race. And I was fine, you know.
Yeah.
My buddy it's like, dude, I got to go to the bathroom. And he went to every single one. Actually, no, I went to every single one. I'm like, none of them have toilet paper, and I already knew this. And my buddy had already gone to the bathroom, and he's like, dude, he was calling out. And he's like, dude, give me some toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm like, I've gone to every porta potty. There's literally none. I ended up going up and hiking up a little higher, found like a handicapped one. I'm like, well, first of all, who's handicapped coming to the race? But it was stocked full of toilet paper. But think, that was before the race, but it was empty. Why in the world are people having GI issues right before the race? Give us some insight.
Sure. And it's not even the GI issues. It's just natural. Some of it's nerves. Some people, when they get nervous, you know, you start to get your heart rate up and your body's prepping for battle in a sense. And it's like, okay, we got to eliminate anywhere we can to save energy. So your digestion, it's like, well, hey, there's stuff in there still. Well, get it out because we're not going to be working there.
We're going to battle. We don't got time to take breaks.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So that's why pre-race, like super common, people are just like, yep. And you know, there's plenty of races that will have porta potties kind of early in the race because people will start running. And same thing, your body's like, hold on, we recognize this, we're running. And I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. So anything that's in your stomach, that's got to go. But it also depends on the intensity that you're running. Because for ultras, like I just mentioned, you have to eat. So when you start running, you know, for this last one standing, for example, it was a 6-mile loop, 90 minutes to complete it. And my strategy was I wanted to keep the glycogen, that's the sugars that are stored in my muscles and my liver. I want to keep those there as long as I can. I want to use
slow pace,
and I want to use what's already in my bloodstream, which is more readily available through your stomach if you're not running at a really high pace. So my strategy was every lap, I'm going to eat a little bit. And food that I'm very comfortable with. I don't want any unique experiences.
Roughly how long was your break between each one? I know every lap was a little different.
Little different, yeah. I wanted 15 to 20 minutes in between.
So run 6 miles, 15 to 20 minutes, kind of eat, maybe take a mental nap.
Maybe take a mental. The funny thing is I totally planned on that. I had a tent set up. I had cots. I was like, yes. I was running with a couple of my a brother and a brother-in-law, and I thought, yeah, maybe I'll take a 20-minute nap. And the plan was 15 to 20 minutes, but in reality, it came down to like 5 to 10 minutes between to have some food, change clothes, change socks, shoes. Like there was a whole process behind it. But if you're running at a slower pace and your heart rate's not super high, then your body can still digest the food that you're consuming. So you can still have all the energy that you need, but you have to slow down.
Yeah.
So for me, I had it dialed in. It's like if my heart rate's over 150, then I'm slowing down.
How did you determine that 150 was your threshold?
Yeah, some of it was research. I looked up a bunch of opinions from other people that have done it, and then most of it was trial and error. I would go out for long runs, nice. I'd do 6 miles.
Did you ever do a VO2 max?
No, never did. Not an official one. Like Garmin will give you an estimated VO2 max, but never an official one.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee you're almost dialed in because the VO2 max is essentially, I mean, you know this, it's figuring out your ratios. Where does your heart rate need to be where it's burning more fat versus carbohydrates, and figuring out what your essentially your phases of running are. Am I at a, phase 1, phase 2, I forget what they're called. Essentially, like, is your heart rate too high or is it just enough? Because once your heart rate is just too high, then you're burning all carbohydrates and you'll run out of carbs and you have no more carbohydrates and you'll bonk, which is tell us what bonking looks like.
What it looks like?
Like explain to us what bonk. Have you bonked before?
Oh, for sure. And to continue your thought, you burn up all your carbohydrates and then your body switches to fat oxidation. So now it's trying to break up fat to use for energy, and that process is longer. So your body's not getting the energy quick enough to use. Yeah,
and sorry to go back on that, but the goal is to stay in the fat training zone, not be in the carbohydrate zone. So essentially, it sounds like you figured out that 150 heart rate was your, like, that was my threshold. I need to stay at 150 or else I will bonk. And it's literally like a mathematical equation based on how many carbohydrates in your body. You can only sustain that for so long.
Yeah.
So tell us about bonking.
Bonking. I hate to call out my brother in this fashion, but we ran.
Yeah. We call him out.
Yeah,
call him out for sure. I hope he hears this.
He'll love that.
He was totally one that would bonk. Sustainability. He's like coming out hot.
Yeah, he ran with me, and he
like
was
side by side. Together?
Yeah, we ran most of it side by side. And I say side by side. He was crushing it because he was doing better than me. He was up ahead of me. We got to mile 70, somewhere in there, 70 to 80. And he bonked, and it surprised me because the lap before he was doing quite a bit better than I was. Like I was slowing down quite a bit, walking a lot more than running, and he was up a good half mile ahead of me. But the next lap we got going and he's like, I feel like I'm running and I'm not moving anywhere. He's like, I just don't have the energy. His knee ended up swelling up a bunch too, and he was nervous about an injury. And so, but bonking it's a really weird sensation. I've done it as well, where you just try to move and you try to run and there's just nothing there. The energy is just not there. And then cognitively, you're not even fully aware of it in the moment. It's only when I looked back that I was like, oh yeah, like I think that was bonking right there. Because in the moment you're just like trying to figure out how to just keep going and finish. And with some ultras, you're on a trail, so you're not just around town. You're clear out in the hills, and you're like, okay,
people probably get lost.
Yeah, stay on the path, like just keep going, get to the next aid station, and then often, at least for me, oftentimes if I eat some food, then I can, and it's like, oh, okay. It's like just the fog's lifted a little bit. You can think clear and you can get moving a little bit more. Yeah. But
so you see videos of people like walking sideways or backwards.
Sure.
Tell us, why do they do that?
So it's that energy. The sugars there's not enough sugars in the body to send up to the brain. And so they are trying to function without that energy for your brain. And so, yeah, some weird things can happen. Some weird things can happen.
And so ultimately, ultra marathons are all about sustainability.
Yeah.
What can you maintain for a long period of time? Because if people come out too hot, right, going too fast, they're going to burn up energy too much. And then if you're not eating on a regular basis, you'll bonk as well. So it's all about this game of sustainability and balance as you move forward.
Yeah, especially with a 100-mile race, because things that would never bother you at 26 miles or even at 50 miles become a huge concern when you're passing the 75-mile mark or somewhere in that range, And
so there's just so much strategy to this. It's not just purely grit and just go.
That's one of the things that I love about it is you've got to know yourself. You have to know how you respond to certain challenges that come up. And you have to be able to quickly adapt. Let's say it's 10 degrees hotter than you were planning. In a 100-mile race, that's monumental.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't plan the appropriate water, you didn't plan the appropriate protection for your skin, you start sweating more, your shoes get wet. I mean, it just compounds over time. So it's the tiny 1% planning you can do for these really long
Oh my gosh,
races.
this
that
is
make
blowing
the
my mind
biggest
right
difference.
now.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about these logistics, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about, we're going to get into like the details about things that can happen along the way. I love how you talk about changing shoes, socks, clothing, underwear, right? Maybe some other needs that we're going to talk about. But what kind of training, actually before we get into training, how long did it take you to run the whole race? What was the time period?
Yeah. So I did it in, it's 25 hours.
25
I did mine
hours.
in 25 hours.
What time
and
did it start?
So it
Was early in the
started
morning?
at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
3 p.m. Okay.
And I finished just after 4. Yeah.
Okay.
4:30.
So your headlamp, right?
Oh, yeah.
Middle of the night.
You got to plan everything.
All the-
Headlamp.
Just kind of
multiple
really paint the
headlamps.
picture here what this looks like.
So with this race, started at 3, and this is something I wasn't anticipating, and I should have known, but it got dark a lot sooner than I thought. I thought I'd have a couple hours to run in the light, but it gets dark at around, it's December. December 18th was the race, so it gets dark at 4:35. So I think I did a lap and a half in light, and the rest was all, in dark until the morning. And so having change of clothes, because it gets cold quick. The sun goes down.
And knowing what types of clothes, how much of your clothes are breathing, if it's baggy clothes or just tight clothes, there's so many different things to think about.
Yep, and all that was training. I trained most of my runs in the night because I was worried, how am I going to do?
Trying to pick the exact temperature, what I'm wearing, being consistent with that.
Yep, and making sure you're changing appropriately. Because
and even the type of surface you're running on, dirt versus asphalt, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I made a mistake on that one.
Yeah.
But knowing, the preparation, that was your question, right?
Yeah.
The preparation for
Yeah, talk to us about the training.
the training.
And try to get super specific. You talk about what you did with the ramp up, what time period that you trained in.
Yeah.
Talk about the clothing, talk about the temperature, talk about the seasons, stuff like that.
So this was a decision 3 years in the making. I ran that first ultra with my brother-in-law, and shortly after I was like, "Hey, this is something cool."
3 years of
I wanted
planning
to do a
prep.
100-mile race. Yeah. So I knew I had to work up to that. And not that I was running every day for those 3 years. There were the seasons that you talked about. I would train for a 50-miler and finish that and take some time to recover, and then slowly, and this was my experience.
And you'd recommend that to most people, maybe 5K, 10K, half.
Definitely work up. Yeah. You can. The crazy thing is the winner of the 100-mile race that I did, he said that was his first ultra ever, and he just won the 100-mile race.
No big deal.
Kudos to him. I don't know how he did that. That's amazing. I want to
Your
talk
strategy,
to him a little bit
I'd
more.
love to hear it.
So, yeah, exactly. But, a safe way to do it would definitely be to work up to it.
Especially in the PT world, we talk about injuries, right?
Yeah.
Your body adapting to the demands you place upon it, right? Like
Yeah.
just gradual exposure.
Yeah.
This is not something you just go do overnight.
Remember, I'm just normal.
Yeah.
I'm not
Tim is
superhuman, so
normal.
I needed 3 years to prep for this.
Some people can do it overnight.
Yeah,
but
not
Tim
this
needed 3
guy.
years.
No. But even the year leading up, so I did a 50-mile race last year, and then knew that this, 2025 is the year I wanted to do 100. And so I tried to have 25 to 30 miles a week for most of the year. And then
Break that down for us in days.
Oh, yeah.
What does that
So
look
that's,
like?
for me, that was 3 or 4 miles a day. And there were some days where I do 5 or 7, and then I usually wouldn't run on Sundays. Just
So
spend time with
collectively,
family.
you're getting around 30 miles a week, 30
Yeah.
to 40.
And that was just to stay in decent shape so that when I was ready to kind of ramp up for this 100-miler, I was comfortable running. I could run at a decent pace and could get it done without taking forever.
Yeah.
So then leading up to the race, I did a 3-month, and this one's not recommended. I would recommend 6 months. But I wasn't fully committed to this specific race until about 4 months before. And then I was like, okay, I need to make this happen this year. I've been working on it. This is the one I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up. But ramping up, and I knew it was a 6-mile loop. So my training looked like 6 miles in the morning, 6 miles in the evening, Monday through Friday. And then Monday through Thursday, Friday and Saturday, I would go on longer runs. So I would do 18 miles or 30. I did only one time.
And did you have a certain strategy of pace with that?
Early on, I didn't. It was all about mileage. I just wanted to get as many
mileage.
miles in as I could. And so, but towards the end, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I started to really focus on the strategy of my running. So that's when I dialed in, slowing down. Because the interesting part about this race is there's not a huge benefit. Some could argue there's not a huge benefit with going faster. Because if you run, a 7-minute pace, you're done in 35 minutes. You've got almost an hour you have to wait before you can start again. You can't start the next lap early. So for me, it was like, all right, I want 15, 20 minutes. So I want my pace to be 12-minute pace, which is a pretty slow mile pace.
Yeah, so you'd run a little bit and then walk a little bit. You didn't just maintain the 12.
No, that was really hard for me. Because normally
You're
when
like,
I
"Shoot,
run,
I'm here to race. I'm here to battle.
I'm here to battle, right? But it's also difficult to run at that pace if you've run some marathons. That's really, really slow. So yeah, my strategy was, okay, maybe I'll run 2 miles and then walk a mile. Or like, what can I do to figure that out? And that was the strategy going in.
What was the longest you ran prior to this race in one sitting?
So the 50-mile race that I did the year before, but in the last little bit of training.
In the 3 months before.
In the 3 months before, I did a 30-mile run.
So most people think that you need to be doing 70 miles and 80 miles, like you're kind of ramping up, but that's not the truth, right?
You don't have to do that. I'm sure there are some people out there that do that. And they're probably really successful at it, and they probably win the race. Not
But
this guy.
who's got the time to be running 80
and
miles?
That's what it came down to me. It's like, I can wake up early, I can run 6 miles, and then I can do all the things I need to during the day, take care of my wife, take care of my kids, get them to bed, and then I can go for another 6-mile run in the evening. So I could manage.
So how did you know
that
you would have the capacity to run 102 miles if the longest you ever ran was around 30, other than the year before?
Great question. And that's where the mental toughness comes in, and the mental strategies behind it.
Talk to us about some of those mental strategies.
Yeah. One of the most impactful things that I did in that area was getting very specific about what I wanted. I didn't want to just participate in the race. I signed up with every intent to finish and to imagine crossing the finish line and getting really deep in that imagination.
Tell us what that looks like.
So for me, it was, which is interesting because this is not how it actually happened, but in my mind, it was crossing the finish line, having my family around me, showing my kids that they can do hard things, having the support of my family around me, and then going and celebrating. maybe going to get some ice
So
cream.
you were like envisioning this for months and months and maybe even years.
And during the run especially, there were many times running at night that I'm thinking, I mean, this is beautiful out here. It's dark. I can see all the stars. This is how it's going to be in the race. And I put myself in that mindset. It's like, this is race day. I'm running. What music am I going to listen to? These are the shoes. The sweater feels good. I'm going to take this sweater. Just things like that day in.
So you kind of like just learn little pieces along the way. You're like, all right, I'm putting that into the puzzle. That is making sense in my design. I mean, I'm literally designing the moment now before it's actually going to come. And I can actually see myself doing it. Like, I love how you said I could feel and see my kids around me and my wife and celebrating. Like, it was very tangible. You could almost touch it as you said it. It's like, yes, I could feel that, right? But that's what created that mental toughness over the months and months of training, is you envisioning that future. Yeah,
because I think we've all heard this before, begin with the end in mind. From Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Before you even start this journey, before you even start preparing for it, you want to envision what is the goal, what is the end result, and in as much detail as you can, put yourself there. Know what it feels like. Imagine, even if it's just pure hope, but start to put that in your mind.
Tell us about some more of the detail that you went into there.
So the details with the...
Because I love some of the detail you said, but I think there's more. I think we got to dig a little deeper here.
Yeah.
What more to the detail did you envision before it actually happened?
So there were multiple times...
Like, was it down to like the very specific socks, right?
Over time it did. Absolutely. And so maybe to answer your question, I'll take you to like before the race, I was sitting in my truck getting ready to haul all my stuff, because like I said, we had planned it out. We had a tent ready, we were going to set up, we had all our food, and I remember just taking 5 minutes and I just went through that process again of kind of just almost like an agenda for the day, agenda for this race. This is how it's going to be when I start. At this mileage, I'm going to switch my shoes, and if my socks are wet, I'm going to switch my socks. And then I'm going to keep going.
The skin breakdown, I can imagine. You get sweaty or your socks get wet.
Yeah, if your socks get
raining,
wet, your shoes get wet.
Yeah, you're rubbing on those for thousands and thousands
and
of steps.
I'd done quite a bit of research. I knew the number one reason that people drop out of 100-mile races, the number one reason is GI problems, and the number two reason are feet.
So as long as you could not have those two problems, those were much more likely.
Huge focus for me is GI and feet. I want to make sure those are taken care of. I knew there were going to be other things, but so that was a big part of my strategy. What am I going to eat each time I come in? For me, it was a PB&J, the Uncrustables, right? PB&J.
Very specific. I like
very
that.
Specific.
It wasn't like wheat bread with honey on it.
Like,
it was
although that was a good option
Crustables.
too. I did like the wheat bread with honey.
The thing is, and how many times did you eat Crustables before the event?
So, yeah, I trained for that.
So essentially, you trained to eat Crustables.
I trained for it.
I want to see videos of this. Eating Crustables.
What that looks like is I ran 6 miles around my.
But you knew exactly the food that your body responds to, and you trained with the food, and then you raced with the food. You didn't switch anything up.
Nope.
No, like heavy pastas the night before.
Right. Yeah. And I knew exactly the other things that I could eat during the race later down, so that I could, a cup of noodles, for example. I knew in the middle of the night it was going to get cold. That was going to sound really good because I had run in the middle of the night and it was cold. And I was like, man, cup of noodles sounds great. So
had practiced running at 2 to 5 a.m. before? Is that part of the mental toughness training?
No, I did do the darkness. And the earliest I woke up was like 4 to run, but never the 2 or 3.
Never like midnight to 4.
And this is the other thing that's important. As much as I prepped and trained and I thought I was really cool and on top of it, sometimes the plan just goes out the window. Yeah. And you're like, did not expect that to happen.
But what I love about your plan is there was so much volume of training, of knowing yourself, that 1% variation that you're talking about is like you knew every variable that could happen for the most part. And you knew how to adapt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I tried to know, not to
You're not
going
to know everything, right?
Yeah, there's going to be things that pop up, and I thought I was brilliant for saying, I'm going to change my socks, I'm going to change my shoes. Well, one of the times I changed my shoes, ran, 12. I was on the third loop, so finishing 18 miles, and my right foot starts to hurt in a way that it has never hurt before. Like I've run hundreds of miles in these shoes before.
How many miles did you say you're at?
So this was at 30.
Oh, 30.
Mile 30. Oh. 18 miles into my second pair of shoes, and I'm like, what is this?
And these were shoes you had already trained in,
I'd already
right?
trained in,
Okay.
yeah. And I already run probably 25
These are not
miles
new shoes.
Not new shoes at all. These are the shoes that and it was just like out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden I got this, and I know what soreness is. This was a sharp pain, base of the fifth metatarsal. As a PT, you already know, it's like, okay, that's a very common place for stress fracture.
Yeah, it could be a fracture.
Could be a stress fracture, stress injury at the very least. So now I've got to change
70 miles.
Again. I only got 70 miles left. How am I going to handle this? But despite all the training, just knowing you're going to have things that pop up. And that was part of the reason that I wanted to do this race so much. Is they say in this 100-mile race, you will experience your highest of highs and your lowest of lows.
In that 102 miles.
In the 24-hour, 25-hour experience, you will experience the full spectrum of emotions.
Is that true?
To some extent. I don't remember feeling my highs as much as I wanted to.
The lows were there.
The lows were so there. That was the main reason.
But you had the high at the end.
I had the high at the end.
Right, everyone,
Not
all
really.
the family.
My family was not, my wife and kids, my daughter had a basketball game.
Oh.
So they were where they needed to be.
So you saw it in your mind, though.
Envisioned. I did have I had two brothers and a brother-in-law there, and that was a cool moment. But the lowest of lows, and I wanted to know, what do I do in the lowest of lows? How do I push through? Do I push through? Or do I throw in the towel? What kind of person am I?
Yeah.
And I want to challenge myself in a way so that when something else comes up, I'll have the confidence to say, this is hard. I accept that. I acknowledge it. And how can I adjust to make it through it? How can I continue to push forward and achieve the goal that I've worked so hard for?
So what'd you do when the foot hurt?
Oh man, so many things. This is mile 30. I had 70 miles left. So I changed.
And if you don't adapt quickly, that could turn really poorly.
And that's a big doubt that was floating around in my mind for 70 miles. It's like, dude, do you have a busted foot? It wasn't that sharp in the moment. It was just starting to hurt, but I knew, so 30 miles later when it was really starting to hurt and I had to adjust my gait a little bit, I had to change from a rear foot to a midfoot running form, which is not recommended, by the way, because you can't remove the force when you're running. It just changes where the force is going through your leg.
Which really helps as a PT. You're like, I could switch that gait real quick.
It is helpful. It was helpful. It helps
you. People know how to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it hurts. Maybe I'll.
But most people will just modify subconsciously. They're not even fully aware they're doing it, but it's like, that hurts. I'm going to just move my foot a little more, maybe pronate a little more, move it in, and keep going. And so,
then they end up getting knee problems and hip problems.
Yeah, exactly. It goes all the way up the chain.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had to, and I did several little self-assessments along the way between, in my little breaks, take my shoes off, check, make sure I wasn't bruising up or anything, check for tenderness, do a few things.
Skin breakdown.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't get any blisters. I was surprised by that. I thought for sure I'd get some, but no blisters.
All right, we gotta dive into the nitty gritty
All right,
here.
let's dive into what you've really been asking. I knew you've been waiting for this question.
Yeah, we went to dinner and we talked about this. I'm like, dude, we gotta do a podcast on this. This is stuff that people know. No one talks about this, right?
Let's talk.
All right, let's just talk about, before we dive in the real nitty gritty. What about the clothing, right? Like, what are you wearing? And let's talk about all the pieces, right?
Yeah, okay.
Shoes, you already ran 25 miles in each. Like, you knew your few pairs of shoes. How many shoes did you have?
So I had 3 pairs of shoes. 2 of them were the same shoe, just 2 pair of them. And I'd put hundreds of miles into those. It was the third shoe, which interestingly
So you knew
enough,
the shoes knew you.
I knew the shoes, yep. And the shoe that my foot hurt in had more cushion on it, which I thought was a good thing. At the time, I was like, yeah, I'll put these on. I'm going to be slowing down anyways. So I had 3 pairs of shoes. I had 5 or 6 different pair of socks. I had
And what kind of
tights.
socks are we talking about? You knew the socks as well. You
Yeah,
ran in
nothing
socks.
special. Brand of the sock. I couldn't tell you the brand of the sock. They're
But
all
it
the
was-
same sock, but I don't remember what the
But
brand
you had
is.
your specific sock.
Yeah, just
And
the socks that
it
I've
happened to
always run.
absorb really well. What was
Yeah.
most of the sweat or most of the wetness from? Was it from sweat?
Oh yeah.
Was
sweat.
it raining at all?
No,
Okay.
dry weather. It's beautiful, beautiful
No
weather.
puddles or anything like that. It
Nothing
was
like
purely
that.
just sweat. So
Yeah.
you're changing the socks on a cadence of, I don't want to
Probably
have
3
blisters.
or 4. Yeah, every 3 or 4 loops I'd
Okay.
change.
Shorts?
Shorts, I had the same shorts, compression shorts. Couldn't tell you the brand of them. Got them on Amazon, but I had the same. I had 2 pair, same.
And then
pair.
did you have pants as well when it got cold? Or?
I had some tights that I put on underneath.
But they were real snug.
Real
not
snug.
loose,
Yeah,
not
I
sliding.
didn't run in sweats or anything. Yeah, so I ran in just long tights with
Great.
the shorts. Shirts, I had 4 or 5 just T-shirts, and then I had a sweater, 2 sweaters,
Like a hoodie sweater?
hoodie
or
sweater.
Okay.
Yeah, hoodie sweater, and then
So a little more baggy.
yeah, a little more baggy on the
Was
top.
there any intention behind that specific type of clothing?
Nope, just what I had, what I was comfortable with, what I was used to. didn't
Which
buy
I love
anything
that
new.
because it's like so many people are like, well, what does everyone else do? It's like, well, you could do what everyone else does, or you could just do what's comfortable for you.
Yeah, just do whatever feels
Like do
right.
your own thing.
Do your own thing.
Because I think ultimately you know your body best, and your
Yeah.
body's what it's comfortable and it's probably what you should be running in.
Yeah.
I remember when I raced motocross, like everyone was all in their jerseys and all looking nice, and I always wore a hoodie. I got cold. Like
Yeah.
I was out racing with a
Yeah,
hoodie
yeah.
on. Like that was just my thing. So
Yep.
I deeply appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about other things. Like what are the things that no one talks about that we should just get out there to just expose?
Yeah. So I've touched on this a little bit, but just in any of these ventures that you go on, you just know there's going to be certain things that'll pop up that you did not plan for. Maybe even things that you've heard other people have had a problem with, but you never did. So for me, I have never had a problem with chafing in any of my other races.
Where are we talking chafing?
Chafing between the cheeks, bro.
Between the cheeks?
Yep. Never have I ever.
So ever in any race.
any
but
race.
this one, between
This-
your butt cheeks,
yep.
just chafing.
And like I said, I've done 50, I've done 38.
That's
a
really
couple
nice
times.
conversation on the sideline.
Yeah, great conversation on the sideline. How do
So
you
you
cope
didn't
with
even
that?
prepare for that.
See, that's the thing. I thought I did prepare. I thought I had stuff that I was like, okay, I usually don't, but just in case, like I'm going to have some stuff here.
Yeah.
But at I can't remember. It was past I think it was past 70 miles. I started to chafe a little bit, and I was like,
30 miles.
what the heck? This is unique. So I had some stuff, like I had some Vaseline. I was like, okay, I'm going to start put this on. And that worked for a little bit. It worked for probably 15 or 20 miles. And then it started to get a whole lot worse. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. If I don't finish this race because
of my butt
chafing,
cheeks.
like, I will be so frustrated with myself.
I'm sure it hurts
This
so
is
bad
such
with
a-
every
yeah,
step.
oh,
The
yeah.
burning that happens.
And it is such a preventable thing too. It's like,
Yeah.
man, this is, just get some butt butter. You,
Yes.
You've done all this work. This is what's
Is there
going to
butt
get
butter?
you. There
Do I
is
know?
butt butter.
Oh, I had no
because that's
idea.
that's the other thing is I had a team with me. I had just the greatest support. My wife came and ran a lap with me, and that was
we got to talk about that.
We'll talk
here in a
about
minute.
that. But I had my brother. He's like. I love this guy. His name's Jason. It's not Keith was there too, but Jason came and ran
That's
a little
so
bit.
cool you did
It
it
was
with all
super
three.
cool. So he was running with me, and he's like, "Dude, you all right? It looks like you're not real comfortable." Like, dude, I'm starting to chafe. He's like, "Yeah, dude, happens." He's in the military. He's special forces. Like, he knows how it goes. He's like, "Hey, what do you need? I will get it." And I was like,
I'll
"Dude, I
even
don't even
apply it for you.
He's like, "Yeah, exactly." He did say it. He's like, "I got you. Here, spread them. Like, I'll lube you up real fast." And he's like, "What do you need?" I was like, "Dude, I don't even know what I'm putting Vaseline." He's like, "Nah, it's not going to do. I'm going to go get some butt butter." It's like, "What's butt butter?" He's like, "Well, this is what you need. You'll think
It's
me
literally
later."
called butt butter.
It's called butt butter.
I'm Googling it after
Yeah.
this.
Yep, it works great. It worked great, and so he got that for me. But it helped with future.
So really the team is been a huge aspect. Finish what you were saying before we dive into the team.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, yeah, I'd already chafed enough that when I did put it on, it almost dropped me, but it helped a ton, and I was able to finish the race without any issues.
So
from
if you're
that.
chafing in a race, butt butter, you got to have it handy.
Just have it in your running bag at this point. It's in
Okay.
mine now.
Tell us, before we dive into the team, what are the things you need to have in your running bag? You got to have butt butter.
Butt butter's the
You got to
top
have
one.
multiple socks, multiple shoes.
Yeah. And just once again, this is very dependent on what race you're training for. So this was my 100-mile bag. At the time,
So your marathon bag is very different than your 100-mile bag.
If I'm running a marathon, man, I'm not too concerned about, this is for me though.
He's showing up in his sweats.
Not sweats, no. I'm still going to wear my same stuff, but maybe I'll have a handheld water bottle. Yeah. There's aid stations I can fill up. But for my bag, for the 100-mile race, I had some Vaseline in it, had the socks, the different pair of shoes, the shorts, all of the food that I was going to take, headlamps.
How many Crustables?
Whole box.
Costco
box.
You're talking 24 pack? 48? What are we talking?
There's a lot. This was for me and my brother, though. So we had all of that, had electrolytes, because you can't just drink water. You have to have electrolytes in there. And it's funny, ultramarathon runners, people often think like, oh, you're probably eating super healthy, super healthy. It's like, no, man, we're eating Uncrustables, peanut M&Ms, potato chips, Monsters, maybe some Dr. Pepper. Like, you want,
and keep in mind, this is
quick energy.
This is the way that you already had designed it, right? Like you already adapted this, so everyone's going to be a little different. But for the most part, the majority of runners are eating Crustables, right? Because you have the quick glucose of the jelly, but then you got the protein, more sustainable of the peanut butter, and then the sugars of the white bread.
And it's not too much protein, because protein takes a little longer to break down, so you don't want to have a ton of protein. You want that quick carbs, the quick sugars. And so it's one of the things I love about ultra races. Like, if you're out on a trail, you'll get to the aid station, and it'll be like, man, did I just walk into a gas station? Like, I got potato chips, I got Swedish fish, there's Dr. Pepper, Coke, and pickles. Like,
it's all quick sugars.
It's all this quick sugars, it's and high sodium. You gotta have all that,
especially if you're sweating.
Yeah,
like
exactly. So that was in my bag. Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever medication that your doctor's got prescribed for you. Like, you need to make sure you've got everything covered that you'll need out there.
Because sometimes, you're in races, and I'd love for you to speak to this before we jump into the team aspect, but you're going to have weird aches and pains that are not explained, that are not necessarily an injury. That's just your body's way of saying, I don't like what you're doing to me. And it's just like, it's this little annoyance that's like, oh, what is that? And it's not an injury typically.
Yeah.
It's just like your body is just not liking what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that. Any other thoughts?
So, it's so important that you know yourself, that you've run enough to know. For me, in fact, I went running this morning, lateral knee, on the outside where the IT band goes, just irritating. But I've run enough and I know enough that if I just keep going at a comfortable pace, that it's going to loosen up. It's going to loosen up. It's going to go away. You're going to have aches and pains come and
for
go.
Some people, that's not true, right? They need to actually get into an expert to help them through that.
If you're new at running and you're just jumping in, you start having some of these pains. If it's consistent, and I'll tell my patients the same thing. If you're running and something starts to hurt, maybe stop for a second, stretch for a second, keep going. If it continues to hurt or it gets worse, don't just push through it. Do not do that. Stop. Get it looked at. Make sure that you're
there was very particular
yourself.
Things that you did with your foot to determine it wasn't a fracture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every lap.
Like, it wasn't that it was like, oh, my foot was killing, I just ran through it. It was like, no, I actually examined with my doctoral level education and clinical experience to determine that was not a fracture, and I chose to continue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's very different than saying, just get some grit and grit your teeth and push through it.
And there are a lot of people that do that. If you want to read an amazing story about that, look at David Goggins' book, You Can't Hurt Me. His life story is pushing through. There's a lot of physical
injury, pain.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really cool lessons that he learned from that we can apply to our lives. But you have to, I would recommend, take care of your body. Yeah. It's not helpful to just push through pain and end up with an injury that's going to set you back months or years.
Absolutely.
So
we're going to finish with two pieces in the podcast. I think they're the most important two pieces that we can talk about. Because when you told me all about the team, it really hit me deep. But you said that my friends, my family, my wife came and ran with me. Tell us about that.
I'll try. Yeah, because it hits me.
It's so impactful.
It is. It really is. And Like I said, my daughter had a basketball game. So the race started on Friday. She had a basketball game on Saturday morning. So I knew that they were going to be with her. And so I knew my wife and kids weren't going to be there, but my brother was there. And I had a couple of buddies come and pace me. So
some random friends that Kim said, "Hey, I'll come run a few laps with you."
Couple buddies. I got some running buddies there in Parowan that I've run with, and they knew I was doing the race. And so he's like, "Hey, man, when would it be the most helpful to come run with you?" And the hardest part of the race was for me mile 60, because it's the last loop in the dark, and you're at mile 60.
You feel like you're all alone.
You are cold. It's dark. You still have 40 miles to go, which feels like, I mean, it is so far. You're like, I still have so far to go. I'm cold at the point, I was at the point where it's like my foot hurts, this is tough. And
that was kind of the lowest point.
That was low. Yeah, that was it. That was the lowest of lows. And, I knew in my mind, I went through my mental processes with like, hey, I know I'm here. I know my goal is. Envision it. And that got me through a little bit. And then my wife showed up to run a lap with me.
You didn't expect it.
She told me she was going to, but it was one of those like, hey, you're going to have to wake up at 4:30, and leave at 5, drive down here, run a lap with me, and then drive straight back to get the kids ready to go to the game. So I was like, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I would love to have you. But it was a welcome relief.
Yeah.
And my wife, she is very high energy, positive.
Oh,
and
I can't, I'm just envisioning. I mean, we're both getting teary-eyed over this there.
Yeah.
But I'm just envisioning you hitting your lowest point, and then Stephanie rolls up.
Oh yeah.
With all of her just bundle of joy.
Exactly.
Right? I'm just imagining the lift that you felt at that exact moment.
Yeah.
So precious, so just deep in your heart. Yes.
Yeah.
Come rescue me, Stephanie.
Come help me. Yeah. She confided in me later. She said, when I showed up and I saw you, I was like, I don't think you're going to finish this. She thought to herself, I don't think he's going to finish
You look pretty defeated.
You look pretty rough, man. Anyways. And it was, so we start running that lap, and she is just all positivity, and here I am in my lowest of lows. She's like, oh man. At one point she's like, babe, you got it. The worst is over. And I kind of am almost crying. It's like, oh, I wish that were true. I wish the hardest was over. I have the 40 hardest miles coming up.
Yeah.
But it was just a funny moment for her, because we both kind of laughed about it, and as she said that, and it's she's like, I don't know how to help you, but I'm here. I'm happy, And then the sun comes up while she's out there running with me, and she's like, see,
what a moment.
There's the sun. It's going to get better from here.
Yeah.
And that one phrase right there just kind of hit me. It's like, you're right.
You went back to that mental toughness of envisioning that end moment, back to your design.
Exactly. Well, and then it helped remind me, yes, I'm out here so that I can run, but I'm out here also for my kids, for my family, so that they can see they can do hard things. And so that was huge, having her run.
Talk about your friends
coming up.
Your friends, your brothers, what that meant to you.
Yep. So right after she ran with me, I had 2 buddies show up. They ran 2 laps with us, and it was just fun. One of them, Matt Kemp, shout out to him. He ran with me, and at one point, because it was 66 and it was 72 and 78, so he ran from 72 to 78 with me, and he's like, dude, you're there. One more
Easy.
lap, you're in your 80s.
Yeah.
You only got 20 miles left. You can do that. That's super easy. You just broke it down into manageable.
And these are all things that you already knew, right? But it was just a reminder from someone that loved you and was like, dude, I've seen you. You can do this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Exactly. Especially Matt, because he ran with me a bunch in training, and we talked
he knew
about
you were
it a
prepared.
bunch. Yeah, he knew he knew my strategy. He knew that I had talked to him about the first 25 miles. I got to slow down. The next 25 miles, I got to dial in my food, make sure that I don't have any GI problems, but have the fuel in there. The next 25 miles is forcing myself to eat, because I know I'm not going to want to eat anything at that point.
You run out of energy.
And the last 25 miles is pure mental toughness. Can you push through? So he had heard me talk about that strategy for me. He was on board. He's like, dude,
And I love the specificity of design too. Like you
Yeah.
broke every piece down. You already knew what you were going to face before you got there. But then you implanted these pieces that were going to lift you because you knew how low you'd be.
Yeah. Yep. And to have him break it even further with like, dude, one more lap and you're in the 80s. Like you're basically done.
Yeah.
You know, it was huge. Even though I still had 4 or 5 laps to go, you know, in that moment, that's what I needed to hear.
I love it.
And then the last one for my brother, both of them, Keith, Jason, like they both ran with me. Keith ran up until his bonk, and then he was out. And then, in fact, as soon as the timing is just interesting. As soon as he was done, the next lap, my brother was there to run with me. And he ran 3 or 4 laps with me.
It's awesome.
And just for him, he was just there to have a good time. Like he's in pretty good shape himself, and so he's just chatting away.
He was just wanting to see you suffer.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. He's like, dude, this is
entertainment
great. Yeah, I'm sure he was just cracking up with the whole chafing thing. He's like, oh, you idiot! This is the dumbest idea you've ever had.
Tell me what mentally it did, knowing that your kids would know that you were doing this. What did that do for you?
Man, it was so cute. They came at the start. And they had made signs, you know, and one of the signs, it was super cute. I don't know if my wife came up with this or my daughter Lily, but it said, "My dad's always the last one standing at our house."
I
have
saw
5 girls, all girls. So.
I saw it, and I literally choked up. I'm like wiping tears. I'm watching or seeing the picture. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, but man, I just wanted them to know that they are capable of so much more than they ever believed, and certainly more capable than what people will tell them. Mm-hmm. People, maybe even well-intending people around them, telling them what they can accomplish. You know, that's why I wanted to do that race, and why I'm going to do another one, is because I want to find ways to push through challenges. Partly for myself, selfishly.
Yeah,
but
very selfishly.
Also for my kids, so they can see, like, oh, well, what does Dad do when times get really tough?
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's already starting to affect them. You know, they now want to come for runs a little bit. Yeah. And I love that.
I just love the deeper meaning behind it. It's not just like you just want to accomplish some goal. Like this is such a deeper meaning. Tell us, as we wrap this up, tell us your top lessons, top takeaways from this race.
Butt butter makes the list.
Butt butter
makes the list. No, but in all seriousness, I've thought about this quite a bit, because the first question that people ask me when they hear that I've run a 100-mile race is, why? Why do you know we have cars, right? Like, you don't have to run. You don't have to walk anymore.
You're like, I never actually thought about that. You're right.
Yeah. So I get that question a lot. And one of the most meaningful lessons that I learned was the importance of the team behind you. Know your tribe and trust that they're there when you need them the most. Another lesson that I learned is, no matter how well you plan, there's going to be uncertainties that come up. But the more that you plan, the better able you'll be able to handle those uncertainties that do come up. Because some people could maybe wonder, like, well, if I'm going to have uncertainties anyways, why even plan? I'll just deal with all of them. But the more preparation you have, the better able you will have to take care of them. So, and then the last one is you are capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. All of us are way more capable than what we currently are doing. And it's just human nature sometimes, unfortunately, to accept where we're at as fact.
Yeah, I love that message so much. Like, I remember reading a mice study. You've probably heard of this study before, of a scientist that threw a bunch of mice into water, and they had to swim, and he wanted to figure out what was the ratio in which they would give up and drown. And obviously that's sad, right? But he threw them in the water, and It only took him roughly around an hour till they started drowning, and then he rescued them. And then he threw them back in again. And the second time they lasted 36 hours until they drowned. Mm. And I love mental toughness, right? Yeah. The message of you are capable of so much more than you think you are.
Yeah.
And that my study is just a small fraction of what humans are capable of doing.
Truly.
Literally, we think we have limitations. A lot of it is our mental limitation, our belief lid that we set. Yeah. This is what's physically we're able to accomplish based on our past experiences.
Yeah.
But when we can push beyond that belief lid and we can see what we are physically capable of doing, it can just go, and it is never ending.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for all of us, I hope that we can find what our current belief lid is. You know, we're talking about running right now. Like, what's that number, the number of miles that you feel like, no way, I could never do that. And go do it. Prep for it, because there's something special that happens when you do break through that. You know, crossing that finish line, 102 miles, and realizing not only am I still alive, but I can still walk too. Like, I got this.
And you probably walked to the car.
I did, barely. No, and then drove home and then slept for 2 days. But like, it's amazing what happens. And like I said, you know, earlier, it doesn't even have to be running. Find something that is challenging in your life and get really specific about it. What thing do you want to accomplish? And work towards it. Plan for it and go do it. And man, I hope that you'll share those experiences, because we all need to hear those. We all need to be reminded you are capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. You can accomplish so much more. And we need that. We need more people to push those limits and boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim, thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah.
What an amazing story about team, about making sure you know your body, about pushing your limitations, about extending your belief systems, because we truly are limitless, each one of us.
Love that.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Brad. This was great.